Hello and welcome back to some MTG Vintage Cube content. This is Chill and I got a heck of a video for you today. A little bit different. I'm just going to show you a showcase match and the draft. This is a super awesome match and I didn't want you to miss out, so please sit back and enjoy. Here we go, pick one, pack one, Mox Pearl, gonna slam it. What should we do with this Mox Pearl? I haven't drafted just a straight aggro deck in a while. Maybe we can do that. Let's see what comes here in pack two. I don't just like going all in on a linear strategy off of a pick one, pack one. I like to see what comes around in the draft. So let's see what people around the table pass to us. After a Mox Pearl, I'm looking at the Elspeth Resplendent. There's also a Sulfuric Vortex, which is super aggressive. I mean, we could really go a lot of different directions here. I think the correct picks are something like Vortex, Elspeth, maybe Gonti. You could also just take the Myr Battlesphere, but I don't like to go in on artifacts unless I kind of pick up a Tinker really early. So let's just pick up the Vortex and see what comes around here. There's a Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I do like red-blue a lot. Priest is a sideboard card. Pyromancer I don't think is quite strong enough. Ballista is a viable option. Now I think out of this pack, Jace is the strongest card. And just being able to loot and filter through your cards in your deck is very important. And the fact that he flips into a pretty decent Planeswalker is just a lot of value for a 2-drop. Okay, after picking up Jace, super excited to see a Smuggler's Copter. I also like Bone Crusher Giant. Bone Crusher offers a lot of 2-for-1 value. I think Smuggler's Copter is a lot more value consistently than Bone Crusher, but Bone Crusher is not something to sleep on. So let's pick up the Copter here and just continue to do this loot thing. Gotta slam Fable here. I hate passing Ancient Tomb. I mean, turn 1 Ancient Tomb and a Smuggler's Copter is pretty good. But we already have a Mox. Fable is just a top tier pick in the Vintage Cube for sure. I don't really want to follow this up with a Grim Lavamancer. I don't think that's what I want to do. Let's pick up the Dark Confidant. I love drawing cards. And so far our mana curve is really low. Maybe we're just going to be super efficient. Here's PVDDR's Elite Spellbinder. Another super effective card in the Vintage Cube. Kind of all over the place in the draft right now with 4 different colors, not green. So I don't think we're playing green, but kind of just staying open, taking strong interactive cards, and let's see what gets passed to us. See if we can solidify into an archetype. Well, there's a broken card, Mind Twist. There's also maybe a Celestial Colonnade, and I like Brazen Borrows, where there's a lot of strong cards this late in the pack. I mean, Wrenn and 6 is very strong as well. We're just not in green. I think the weakest card in the pack is probably Daredevil and Ophiomancer. Mind Twist is pretty broken, especially with fast mana, so let's pick up the Mind Twist here. That's one of those cards you love to cast and hate to see cast against you. Dark Slick Shores should offer some okay fixing for blue-black. Let's just pick that up here. And then wheeling from our first kind of picks, here's Elspeth and Gonti. Now, when I played J-Bro in a feature exhibition match, Elspeth performed really well. So I actually want to pick up Elspeth here and see if she can perform as well for us as she did for J-Bro. This pack, we can just take a Necromancy. I don't really think we're going to be doing Reanimator, but we have loot. I mean, we have Jace and Smuggler's Copter. So it's potential we could have another line of attack with Reanimator. Here's a Badlands. Let's fix some mana some more, I think. There's also Savai Triome. That's actually Triland for white, red, and black. Right now, we're kind of doing the 4-color thing. Jace is our only blue card. So let's pick up this fixing. Savai Triome, Concealed Courtyard. Not going to play Karmic Guide or Olivia. And a Corpse Dance for 15th pick. So Reanimator may be open. All right, pack 2. There's a Path. I like Swords to Plowshares better than Path. And then here's an Urza Saga. Urza Saga is very strong, especially with Mox Pearl, something to go fetch out after its 3rd chapter. And fast mana like Mox Pearl actually allows you to play Urza Saga turn 1 and then take advantage of its 2nd chapter activation on turn 2. If you lead out on Urza Saga turn 1 without any fast mana, you actually cannot use its chapter 2 effectively. You don't have enough mana unless you find additional ramps somehow. Well, there's the Swords to Plowshares we were just talking about. There's also some decent blue cards, Snapcaster to Fairy Time Raveler. We don't have a lot of spells yet, so Snapcaster not as effective yet. Just to take the Swords to Plowshares, it's a great removal spell and continue to build out our deck. There's a K command, one of my favorite spells in the cube. There's also a Skull Clamp. Now, right now, we only have 4 creatures, so I don't know how effective Skull Clamp's going to be in our deck. Usually Skull Clamp's amazing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play K Command though. And I'm starting to think that we're not playing this Vryn. But we'll pick up the K Command and see what else is coming around. Well, no black cards. There's a Vindicate if we want to pick up a Vindicate. It's also an REB. I'm always glad to have some good sideboard action against blue. I don't think we're going to take the Mystic Confluence at 2 blue pips. Let's take REB here, though I think the pick is between REB or Vindicate. I mean, heck, we could play Emrakul if we wanted to do the Reanimator thing since we have Corpse Dance. But yeah, I think actually the pick's either REB and Vindicate. Let's just take the REB for now. It's probably too high of a pick, to be honest, to be picking a sideboard card. Here's a Lightning Bolt. So really effective and efficient red spells coming around. And there's good blue spells too here. There's just, I almost rather play red than blue sometimes. Starting to sort out the cuts from the keeps on the bottom here. And we may not be playing this Jace. Here's a Wandering Emperor. There's also a lot of great blue cards coming around, but I think I'm going to solidify into white as kind of my base color with the Mox Pearl and just start to commit down that color. You can't hedge all the way through the draft. Otherwise, you'll end up with just a mishmash pile of cards that you can't cast. So let's kind of write off blue. As hard as it is to say, looking at things like Murktide and Thirst, both are which great blue spells. We'll pick up the Giver here, but yeah, maybe it was a mistake to switch out of blue here. I think there's definitely a strong blue deck being passed around. Here's Flickerwisp versus Council's Judgment. There's also Lotus Petal and Ob Nixilis. I think the right pick here is Council's Judgment or Flickerwisp, but let's pick up Ob Nixilis. He's fun, and we'll just lean into Mardu here big time. We do have that Savai Triome. Hopefully we can find a fetch to help pick it out of our deck. Now there is the Path to Exile. Not as good as the Swords to Plowshares, but I'm happy to have both these exile effects. And there's a Showdown of the Skulls. Also a Magda, but I love Showdown. Skull Clamp coming around. Love to see it. We only have 3 creatures right now, so we need to draft some more creatures. So knowing that, let's take this Lion Sash over the Vindicate. Maybe we're doing some Reanimator stuff. I don't like Winds of Abandon, so we'll just throw Ashen Rider in the board. Here's a Woodfall Primus again if we end up doing Reanimator stuff. But I think we're going to need to prioritize creatures in our Mardu colors, as we only have 4 right now. Bloodchief's Thirst for a 15th pick ain't bad. All right, pack 3. The other thing about playing 3 colors like Mardu is we need to be really aggressive with our fixing too. So we need actually more fixing and more creatures. Here's a Sacred Foundry. There's also a Prismatic Vista, and that may be better in case we want to just get black as well. There's an Esper Sentinel, also a Caracas. Ooh, I love Caracas. It's really strong, but I think we need to just take the creature here. Esper Sentinel can equip a Skull Clamp quite well, though Caracas is a broken magic card. I mean, I want this Jailer, but on the other hand, can we pass a Mana Vault, especially when we have Urza's Saga in the deck? I don't think we can. Maybe there's a world where this Palace Jailer wheels. I don't know. We're going to get something else out of that pack. There was a Relic Order as well. Here's a Skyclave. Want to slam that. It's a creature, removal spell. It's where we want to be. Here's a Recruiter of the Guard. That actually fetches out a lot of our creatures right now. In fact, I think it fetches out all of them. So that's a great pickup. Here, I guess we just take the Blackleaf Cliffs, right? So we need our fixing. Yeah, let's take Cliffs here for sure. And here, oh, Duretti. Yeah, perfect. Doesn't make creatures that can attack, but makes creatures that wear Skull Clamp really well. And this pack, let's just slam Grief. I think that's a better card for the archetype we're in than Intrepid Adversary. And Recurring Nightmare, we don't really have any discard outlets, and I think we're off the Reanimator plan. So let's slam Grief here. This card is very nice. This pick, I think, is a bit wrong. Picking up Lurrus here, but we don't have a lot of 1 and 2 mana value permanents. I think a better pick would have been some top end like Hellish Norn, or even a utility card like Cathar Commando. So I think this was definitely a mispick. Lurrus is a hard card to draft late. It's one of those early draft picks that you can build around. Now the Reliquary for the sideboard. Ooh, the Palace Jailer did wheel. Nice. Seachrome Coast. No, don't need any of these things. Getting for the board. Ooh, and here's a pick. We could play all 3 of these cards. I do like Bone Shards. It is a little bit better than Blood Chief's Thirst, I think, just in terms of its mana efficiency for large planewalkers. Wingmare, Wield, and Usher of the Fallen for the last pick in pack 3 is actually not bad at all. Also wears Skull Clamp really well. All right. Here's the deck. We are definitely a value Mardu deck. Our creatures are not aggressive. This is not an aggressively slanted deck, right? But we got Grief, Palace Jailer, Apparition. Recruiter is amazing, fetching out every single one of our creatures. Just some really great picks here. And then we also have some great value spells as well. Fable, K-Command, Showdown. Really excited to play this deck. I love this type of interactive gameplay that gives us as the player a lot of choices. We're going to go into a feature match here. This is an amazing match. I'm so excited to bring this to you. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I did playing it. So let's dive into game 1. All right, here we are on the draw versus Cleo. And what do we think about this hand? This one's actually kind of close, I think. We have Swords and Esper Sentinel, and Esper Sentinel could help us draw into other lands. We're also on the draw, so I'm actually going to keep this hand. It doesn't look like we're casting Ob Nixilis anytime soon, but we're a 1 land away from Lion Sash and another land away from Spellbonder. Opponent leads out Plains, Mana Vault. Don't like to see that. And we do not draw a land. We draw a Recruiter. Man, I would have loved to have been on the play to get this Esper Sentinel down turn 1. We desperately need a land here. I wonder if this decision to keep is going to come back to bite us. And then opponent plays Caracas, probably one of the most broken lands in the cube, into a turn 2 Gideon Jura. All right, then. And what are they going to do? Yeah, they uptick. Wow. Into a Mox Jet? They just have a casual piece of power? We do not draw a land. We do draw Skull Clamp, however. We can attack down the Gideon Jura. I don't expect they'll necessarily downtick on our Esper Sentinel. And we're going to not play Skull Clamp here, as we're going to hold the Swords to Plowshares to exile Gideon. Wow, that was such a strong first 2 turns, like first turn from our opponent. We're in bad shape here, and I'm not sure how we're going to turn this around. Wow, so our opponent does downtick on the Esper Sentinel. I did not expect that. Maybe we shouldn't have attacked with the Sentinel there. And then they play a Hearst, and it looks like they'll be able to activate it immediately. Okay, we draw our tapped land. We'll play and pass. I do expect Gideon to attack this turn, which means our Swords to Plowshares is probably live. And then our opponent just, uses Hearst end of our turn. So it's a good thing we don't have any graveyard shenanigans going on. Whoa. And then opponent plays Balance. I mean, this is just a discard 5. Man, all right. Well, so we have to keep Swords to Plowshares to deal with this Gideon. And I guess we keep something like Skyclave. Lion Sash is no good with Unlicensed Hearst on the battlefield. Copter, we need a creature, and Recruiter is okay. So, we'll just keep that. All right, opponent does attack with the Gideon, so we can Swords to Plowshare this. All right, and then here's a Bone Shards, a day late and a dollar short as well. That could have dealt with Gideon. Now I want to deal with our opponent's Hearst or any other threat they may play, because that Hearst is starting to grow with all the cards put into the graveyard from Balance. So I think if we draw another mana, I'm just going to Skyclave the Hearst. And at least our opponent's not doing anything right now. All right, we do not draw a mana. We draw Duretti. So black or red mana turns on our Duretti as well. Couple more cards out of our graveyard here underneath the Hearse. And then our opponent untaps Mana Vault. I like to see that just because that means they're going to have no plays this turn. We draw Jailer. Okay. Oh, man. Living on 2 lands here. I guess our opponent's just living on 3, but they got Mana Vault and Mox Jet and Planeswalker turn 2 and into Balance. Not salty. Not salty at all. 4 cards in our opponent's hand. Kind of surprised that they didn't play anything there after untapping their vault. All right, we draw the planes we needed. So let's get this Skyclave down. Again, I want to take out the Hearst. That Hearst is representing a pretty significant threat that I cannot deal with at sorcery speed. If we had an instant speed removal, maybe I would have taken the Mana Vault. But since we just have the Bone Shards, I want to deal with that threat. Another land from the opponent. So they are Mardu. We got the Mardu mirror going on here. And then no plays. I really wonder what the 4 cards are that our opponent's holding. I'm just going to slam Jailer here. It is worth playing Jailer just to get Monarch. Our opponent has nothing on the board, so this is just going to draw some cards and get us some value. I'm actually liking our position a little bit more now. We draw a Swamp here off of the Monarch, which means we can get Duretti down next turn. And I'll start blowing up the Mana Vault for sure. Oh, okay. So into Karn. Got it. They must have just drawn that because I think they had Karn mana last turn. And they downtick on the Apparition. This is going to make a 2/2 kind of important just because again, I do not want to lose the Monarch here. We draw a Dark Confidant. So Karn I'm not as worried about right now. If he wants to downtick Karn again to get off the battlefield, I'm okay with that. Let's get Duretti on the battlefield. This is going to make a blocker. I just want to secure our Monarch a little bit. Maybe this is a mistake. I'm not sure. I kind of expect our opponent to uptick, in which case I'm going to, I guess, ditch the Dark Confidant. I'm not sure. Maybe this wasn't the right play. I'm happy to see him block here because having no creatures on the battlefield means we just get to keep the Monarch longer. Ooh, and then drawing a Concealed Courtyard was really nice there because now if with Karn upticking, I'll have a card to discard to Karn that's pretty useless. Yeah, okay. So Karn did uptick. Monarch really saving us there. Back up to 7, but not worried. 7 loyalty on Karn, but not worried because we do have the Bone Shards in hand and we can just easily sacrifice these construct tokens and then boom, showdown of the Skulds. Let's get some more card advantage going. I can't believe, again, that our opponent is holding 5 cards in hand. It's just not playing spells. I doubt they're holding 5 lands. I think they would have played some of those. Maybe they're holding creature removal that they don't want to waste on construct tokens. That's all I can imagine. But now we have the Monarch, we have an active Planeswalker, we got Dark Confidant, we got Showdown in hand, and our life totals are pretty even. Yeah, okay. So they probably have creature removal. So Oust comes down on our Dark Confidant. Fine to see that. Play the Showdown, see what we draw here, and we'll leave a Plains up to play Usher if we need to. All right, we get Mox Pearl. Yep, there's the Dark Confidant that got tucked. Urza Saga and Blackleaf Cliffs. We haven't played a land yet this turn. I want to get Saga going, I think, for sure. So let's get Saga down, get those chapters ticking up. We can play Usher of the Fallen. I don't want to play the Mox Pearl yet because we don't need to, and I want to get the extra +1/+1 counter off of Showdown's second chapter next turn. And we're drawing so many cards, I'm not, we're not forced to try to find a way to get Dark Confidant down or something like that. So we'll just keep making constructs and drawing cards. Palace Jailer onto an empty board is a super viable line of play. All right, opponent again untaps Mana Vault. This is the second time they've untapped Mana Vault this game, and they're holding 6 cards. Like, what are they holding in Mardu that they are not playing? Our Duretti's in ultimate range, not that we want to ultimate it. We draw a K command, which will allow us to blow up that Mana Vault. Like, I don't want to let our opponent get that much mana again. They're playing big spells like Gideon and Karn. So let's get this Mox Pearl out of the exile zone, put a +1/+1 counter on our Usher, and then we have mana to both K command the Mana Vault as well as activate Urza Saga. Let's downtick one of these constructs on the Mana Vault. Just get that thing out of there. I mean, I'm surprised our opponent untapped it. We can further destroy our opponent's mana. We can bring Palace Jailer back and blow up the Mox Jet here with the K command. Love this 2-for-1 value. And then we still have mana to activate Urza Saga. So this is really nice. Another counter goes on the Usher. We're kind of going off here, doing all the things. And now we even have mana to play the Dark Confidant as well. Yeah, get on the board. Here's a 5/4 Usher coming at you. Not going to activate Boast, so that way we can get Urza Saga activated at our opponent's end step. Pretty good. I mean, we've drawn 10 more cards than our opponent this game. That was through Showdown and Monarch. Opponent plays a Rakdos Signet, which is super not impactful here, and into Fable. And even Fable's not even that scary. We just have so much value on the board. I'm clearly going to Palace Jailer this token. Palace Jailing tokens is great because then when your opponent takes the Monarch back, they don't get their token back. So that tokens are actually ideal targets for Palace Jailer. Let's untap here. We'll order our triggers. We'll make another construct and then see what we draw off of Bob. Construct token is pretty big here with Duretti making construct defenders and our Mox Pearl. Showdown's final chapter triggers here. Let's go fetch out. What else do we have? Yep, our Mana Vault making our constructs bigger. This is going to give us some more mana. So I think we can cast both Grief and Palace Jailer now. Opponent's probably wondering how they got in this position after, turn 2 Gideon into like turn 4 Karn with a balance in between. I'm kind of wondering as well, but like our opponent just stopped playing spells from turn like 5 or 6 onwards. So I'm not sure what they're holding here. I'm curious what these 5 cards are in their hand. But this was a heck of a comeback of a game. I mean, we're not done yet. I mean, who knows what shenanigans are going to happen. Let's peek at our opponent's hand here by playing Grief. I am so curious as to what our opponent is holding. Oh, and they don't want to show us. They want to retain the info. Wow, we came back from that huge deficit. That was awesome. Whew. All right, let's head into game 2. All right, game 2 on the draw again, and 100% keeping this hand. This one's not even close. This is an amazing hand. We can get down both Mana Vault and Usher the Fallen turn 1. Seems good. All right, opponent again leads on Mana Vault. I'm going to raise you, kind sir or ma'am. Wait, we draw Urza's Saga? So we can do all the things. We can get Urza's Saga, Mana Vault, and Usher all down turn 1. And then have Urza Saga active turn 2 because we have this Mox Pearl. Yeah, this is kind of broken. I'm sorry, opponent. Now you're going to watch us just have an amazing first couple turns. And let's see how our opponent deals with it. Now, this is interesting. Our opponent played an island. I don't remember seeing an island in our opponent's game last turn. So they're 4 color and they were just mana hosed last game. Yeah, that's why fixing's super important in the vintage cube, right? If you're going to play like 3-4 colors, you need to prioritize fixing. So that must be what have happened. Our opponent just must have had cards stranded in their hand last game for lack of blue. There's the Caracas again. Glad Usher's not a legendary. And we're just going to ride this Urza Saga train here and make some constructs. Ob was a pretty cool draw as well. We'll be able to get Ob down once we're done doing Urza things. Nothing yet this turn. Don't want to tap the Mana Vault, plus we need red mana for Ob. We'll just hold up Path to Exile and we'll plan to just make a construct end of our opponent's turn. All right, OP taps Mana Vault for Tinker. Okay, what are they going to tinker out? What's their Tinker target? Because we have an Exile answer, so I don't think I'm scared of anything here. Maybe like Citadel is scary. Oh, Sphinx of the Steel Wind? Yeah, that's definitely not scary. And we don't even need to exile that right now. We can just make our construct and exile it next turn. And I think I'll tap my Mana Vault here this turn because this is going to allow us to play Ob Nixilis, make a construct, and exile the Sphinx. I think we have enough mana for this. So, yep, wait for our main phase trigger so that way we don't lose mana switching between phases by tapping the vault. We'll make our construct. And we'll go fetch out the Skull Clamp. Oh, yeah. Almost forgot we had that card. That card's amazing. We can play our Mountain, and now we can tap our Mox Pearl to get the Path to Exile played, and we have 3 mana for Ob Nixilis. Don't have enough mana to equip Skull Clamp, unfortunately, but this seems pretty good, and I'm going to casualty Ob Nixilis here, sacrificing a construct for 5. That seems good. That seems really good. And we had to do that before we moved to Through Combat just because we had colorless mana floating. Otherwise, I would have loved to have done that second main after attacks. Still, we will uptick and downtick here, make a devil, make our opponent discard or lose 2 life, and we'll get in there. And then pretty sure we just have like infinite card draw now between Usher and Devil tokens and Skull Clamp. And our opponent's down at 10. Yeah, that was a pretty nice turn 3 for us. I can't believe that this is the board state after 3 of our turns because our opponent led off and this is their 4th turn. So that's sweet. Fast mana. Oh, there it is again. Balance. All right. So it's going to take care of our creatures. A little unfortunate. But we do still have 2 active Planeswalkers. And these Planeswalkers can make Devil tokens, which can wear Skull Clamp real well and do some pinging. So I think we're going to have plenty of card draw. And our opponent had to sacrifice lands there and discard cards. So that was good for us and good for our opponent, I suppose. I'm happy for our opponent to just be on 2 mana. We will not untap Mana Vault here. We draw Wandering Emperor. I guess we don't need to equip Skull Clamp to anything. I'd rather flash in this Wandering Emperor. So let's uptick on the let's just uptick on both Obs here. We don't need to gain any life, and it's just maximum pain here for our opponent. And if we get to untap next turn, I'm 100%. Oh, I was going to say I'm 100% ultimating Ob. I want to draw 7 cards. That was awesome. Opponent cast Balance twice. The first game was amazing balance for them. Second game, not so much. Kind of just balanced the board out a little bit there. I can't believe we just smashed them game 2 like that. And I guess game 1, they did not have the right color mana to play their spell. So that was the feature match. Hope you enjoyed. I know a little shorter than normal, but we'll see you again next week. So thanks for hanging. Thanks for chilling with me here. Don't touch that dial and let's keep cubing.